morning, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Moneyline with Nancy. It's the week of love. Valentine is coming. Where is your husband? Where is your wife? Where is your boyfriend? Where is your girlfriend? Anyway, it's the week of Valentine, so welcome everyone to the program. But before we go into the Valentine weekend, it's my duty here to keep you up to speed with everything that is happening in the world of business, finance, economy, market, and investment information. So thank you all for joining us. This is Moneyline with Nancy. Did I say that? Okay, it's clearly written on your screen. I am Nancy Naji. This morning, we turn our attention to a quiet, I will say quiet, but not entirely quiet, though. You know, that is what I'll talk about this morning is one key sector. You know, they move quietly, but they do big things. So quiet and consequential shift in what we are seeing at this, what we are going to be seeing perhaps in 2026. I must tell you that the startup ecosystem is having a lot of changes that a lot of us really need to pay attention. The startup ecosystem and the growing funding challenges confronting innovators as well as founders and investors alike. After years of global capital flows and bold valuations, the startup space in the country is now navigating a much tougher reality. We're seeing falling funding, FX volatility, as well as higher global interest rates and a reset in investors' expectations. In 2025 alone, startup funding into Nigeria dropped sharply, raising questions about confidence. And we saw capital structure, whether local financing can step in where foreign capital is already retreating. So what does this really mean for business? What does it mean for founders? What does this mean even for policy and the future of Africa's most active tech markets? Joining me shortly to break this down are Moses Fire, a tech policy expert, as well as Alex Onya, CEO of EduCare, and together we will try as much as possible to break down where the ecosystem stands, what is broken at the moment, and what must change. This is Moneyline with Nancy, but first, let's get into the news. Let's start by telling you that the federal government has inaugurated a new governing board for the Oil and Gas Free Zones Authority, signaling a harder push to turn incentives into export growth and job creation. Speaking at the inauguration in Abuja, Industry, Trade and Investment Minister Jumoke Oduwole said the board will be judged not by process and the number of meetings that it has, but by performance, including project delivery, investment attracted, and value added to Nigeria's export base. The government is betting that a more disciplined free zone framework can help the oil and gas sector deliver double-digit contributions to GDP by 2030, at a time when Nigeria is under pressure to diversify non-oil revenue. Now, let's move over to the story around the World Bank and the Central Bank of Nigeria. The World Bank has reduced a planned grant to the Central Bank of Nigeria from $10.5 million to $6.8 million, with final board consideration now expected in March 2026. The grant will fund a technical assistance program aimed at strengthening the CBN's data-driven banking supervision and oversight of payments and remittances. The funding will come from a multi-donor trust fund, confirming it will not add to Nigeria's debt stock, even as the World Bank remains the country's largest external creditor. The revision underscores tighter global development financing, even for technical support projects. Talking about the Bank of Industry now, it has received regulatory approval from the Central Bank of Nigeria to operate a non-interest banking window, opening a new front in development finance. BOI says the move will help it mobilize ethical capital, expand access to financing for underserved businesses, and support real sector growth without traditional interest structures. Managing Director of the BOI, Olashukbo Olusi, described the approval as a strategic shift that will enable the bank to reach borrowers previously excluded from conventional finance at a time when access to capital remains a major constraint for industrial growth. NNPC Limited has admitted that Nigeria's state-owned refineries have consumed over 13 trillion naira in public funds while continuing to operate at heavy losses. The group CEO of the NNPC Limited, Bayo Julari, said the Port Harcourt, Warri, and Kaduna refineries were running at what he called a monumental loss despite years of turnaround maintenance and bank-funded support. The disclosure raises tough questions about capital allocation, energy policy, and whether further public investment in the assets can be justified, especially as private refining capacity expands. Now, let's move into states news now. We're going to be talking about Enugu State. Enugu State says it has recorded 406.8 billion in internally generated revenue in 2025, meeting 80% of its full-year targets and marking a 125% jump from the previous year. State Revenue Chairman Emmanuel Nnamani said the performances reflect reforms under Governor Peter Mbah, with non-tax revenue accounting for nearly 90% of collections. The figures highlights a structural shift in subnational finance, moving beyond payee dependence and positioning Enugu as one of the fastest growing revenue states in the country. Let's take a look at the markets, how the Nigerian markets ended last week. We saw that it extended its bull run last week, adding over 4 trillion naira in value as investor sentiment remained strongly risk-on. The all-share index rose sharply by about 4%, driven by gains in MTN, Dangote Cement, Seplat, Stanbic IBTC, pushing the year-to-date returns above 10%. We're seeing that the momentum remains positive, though analysts are cautioning that short-term profit could trigger brief consolidation after price run-ups in large-cap stocks. All right, I think we should take this report now. I guess we're ready to take that, and we are going to be looking at the rising cost of living and stagnant incomes putting pressure, increasing pressure on Nigerians, making it difficult for many households to meet their basic needs, such as food, transportation, rent, and basic needs on the increase. And questions are being raised about whether earnings are keeping pace with expenses. Take a listen to some of our respondents.
In today's economy, earning an income no longer guarantees financial stability. Across Nigeria, high food prices, transportation costs, rents, and basic services are stretching incomes thin, leaving many families struggling to adjust. As salaries remain largely stagnant, many Nigerians are finding it increasingly difficult to keep up with daily living expenses. Respondents emphasize that their earnings fall short of their expenses, leaving them struggling to meet their daily needs.
The truth is that measuring the earnings and the expenditure here comparable to the standard of living we are saying here, you see that I will say that the earnings are below the expenditure. People ought to struggle to meet up to their daily needs, and the little they are earning is not matching up to what people are spending.
My earnings are far below my expenditure because the realities on ground, the realities of the current situation requires that you have to spend a lot of money which is not available either as a public servant or as a civil servant. So we spend more than what we actually earn.
Another concern was raised that rising transportation costs consume more than half of their income, significantly limiting what remains for other essential needs.
The average salary as a Nigerian is 70K. Before you put transportation, we all know the price of fuel it has reduced to an all-time high. The price of fuel is very expensive. Okay, you're collecting 70K, you're paying transport. You're paying transport from here to your work. Let's say you're working at Jabi. Automatically, you're paying 500 every day. If you calculate that money, sometimes if your transportation alone is more than your earning. We have not talked about the food. You want to buy food stuff. You have to buy food stuff. You have to take care of your family. You're married, you have to take care of your family. I do everything. Honestly, now like this is very difficult.
The story of income versus expenses is one that touches every sector of the economy. For many, survival now depends on cutting back, borrowing, or taking on additional work just to stay afloat. Without meaningful income growth and policies that support purchasing power, the pressure on households will only intensify. as inflation and economic uncertainty persist, closing the gap between earnings and expenses remains critical, not just for individual well-being, but for sustainable economic growth and social stability.
All right, let's delve into our conversation, but we'll do that after the break. My guests will be joining me, Moses Fire, Tech Policy Expert, and the Chief Executive Officer at Educare. Both will join me after the break. We'll be right back.
On Moneyline with Nancy.
I think it's sustainable, and you will see that in our report. We project we can stay at 1,300 on the average in 2026. But beyond that, our philosophy of FX has to be a bit more dynamic than we want a lower. I think it's sustainable, and you will see that in our report. We project we can stay at 1,300 on the average in 2026. But beyond that, our philosophy of FX has to be a bit more dynamic than we want a lower. I think it's sustainable, and you will see that in our report. We project we can stay at 1,300 on the average in 2026. But beyond that, our philosophy of FX has to be a bit more dynamic than we want a lower. I think it's sustainable, and you will see that in our report. We project we can stay at 1,300 on the average in 2026. But beyond that, our philosophy of FX has to be a bit more dynamic than we want a lower. I think it's sustainable, and you will see that in our report. We project we can stay at 1,300 on the average in 2026. But beyond that, our philosophy of FX has to be a bit more dynamic than we want a lower.
The fact is, FX stability, inflation is coming down. The truth of the matter is that it has not yet quite filtered down to the average man in the market, on the road. What that means is that there is a lag between policy reforms, macroeconomic conditions, and when you begin to see the outcome with citizens. And I think that is the overall objective. The truth of the fact is, FX stability, inflation is coming down. The truth of the matter is that it has not yet quite filtered down to the average man in the market, on the road. What that means is that there is a lag between policy reforms, macroeconomic.
All right, I have Moses Fire joining me here. He's a did I say politics? I want to add politics to your brief. Anyway, it's the political season now. Anyway, Moses Fire is a tech policy advisor, and is the second guest there? Okay, we're supposed to have Alex join us online. All right, Moses Fire, just speak to us around the macros, talking about the macroeconomic environment of Nigeria as so far. What do you see? What do you have to say about it and the way it's impacting the startup ecosystem?
Yes, so the startup ecosystem, it's one that has, again, it's very vibrant and has attracted a lot of investment and entrepreneurs, again, within Nigeria, and it's one of the biggest in West Africa. However, again, we've seen a lot of slow in terms of funding coming into Nigeria. Again, various factors, and one which is very high is the aspect of our currency devaluation, which now investors are really asking, really being strict in terms of, okay, should we give money to? Are we going to get our returns? And that has really impacted the startup ecosystem in Nigeria. But however, based on reports of 2025, there has been a more like there have been an improvement in terms of the funding that came into Nigeria. When you compare it to 2024 and 2023, there have been a little interest to the funds that came into Nigeria. But I would say, yeah, it's more investors now are really asking the hard questions and not just giving free money to startups within the Nigerian ecosystem.
Can you speak, because you're saying that things were better in 2025? Did we see startup attracting funding in 2025?
Yes, startup attracted funding in 2025. When you talk about the Money Point, attracted 100 million.
I'm talking of new startups.
Okay, no.
Yes, I'm not talking of the startups that are already there.
Yeah, so new startups, maybe.
That's why startups.
So, yes, startups.
Startups, yes.
No, so even when you look at the Nigerian Startup Act, it says the startup is one that has been in operation for 10 years. So at least some of these startups, you can bring them in. But for new startups, we've seen more of local investment being pumped into these startups. And yes, the big line startups, very few, but more, I would say it's more of the local investors within Nigeria that understand the African and Nigeria terrain.
So, if I got you right, we didn't get any funding for startups.
No, startups got funding.
Because I was reading something and I was like, okay, whether perhaps the rates fell in 2025, unlike what we've seen in previous years.
Yes, unlike what we've seen in previous years. So previous years has been where the whole startup boom came.
Yes.
And yes, the fintech were the one leading. But now, because now the market is becoming more in a way balanced, where, we've passed the era of the boom, where everyone just wants to invest and get it. And now, because money follows where startups show workings. So now most of these investors are now saying, we are not getting the kind of returns we are getting. And that was why after COVID 2022-3, it fell. But now it's improving a little bit because more startups, again, the startup ecosystem is becoming more balanced. Even the ones that didn't have, I would say, were not able to get a product market fit have either closed or been merged or acquired. So we are now seeing more like a stability within the ecosystem.
Okay, I'm aware that Alex Onya is joining us right now. Alex is the CEO of Educare. Hello, Alex. Welcome.
Hello, Nancy.
Hi.
Good morning. How are you today?
I'm very well. Educare is not a startup, is it?
No, Educare is
How many years have you guys been there? Because I know you do education solutions.
12 years now.
12 years. And I don't tell. So you people are like almost like ancestors in that ecosystem.
No, we've been here for a while.
Okay. So with your experience as the Chief Executive Officer of Educare, Nigeria is one market that is considered as one of the big four, at least in Africa. You're talking about Kenya, you're talking about Nigeria, in terms of startup ecosystem, and we know what we've done, at least in the past. Would you say that there's been a decline in funding so far? Let's take a look at last year.
Yes.
And perhaps if this year will be a reset.
Yes, there's actually a huge decline. So I think a few years back, we used to have, from 2014, 15, 16, 17, 18, I think up to like the COVID period, we used to have a lot of funding and especially from the US. But I think after COVID, we started experiencing like a very sharp decline. And Nigerians and most of the startups that people are trying to do are relatively similar. Fintech. There's very little people that goes out of the original fintech. Anybody you meet is probably working on something fintech or something. So, the market is the people who have actually gotten it right, like the Paystack, who have exited the Flutterwave, MoneyPoint, and a few other ones that have actually gotten it right on that part. So that's actually what it is at this moment.
Do you think that we can rebound as fast as countries like Egypt and perhaps Kenya?
I think we can, but I think we should actually start even building more of the local funding. So because there's a problem here. This MoneyPoint is not a Nigerian company. I hope you know that, right?
Yes, I know. But most of our viewers don't know that.
Yes, Paystack is not. Most of these companies we will celebrate because they have Nigerian founders are not Nigerian companies. So we need to actually start building Nigerian companies funded by Nigerians, right? That we can even trade on our stock exchange and a lot of all these other things. So we need to start building local funded businesses. We need to start creating awareness whereby our local investors will start understanding the value, not this kind of trader mentality where I'm putting in an X amount and I want it in 6 months or 2 days. So we need to start creating our own actual funding whereby businesses are actually owned. We have the cost sovereignty for our businesses in Nigeria.
Alex, I would my audio people should come fix so that Moses can actually hear you. But while we're trying to put that in place, let's talk about this thing which you mentioned. Are we at the risk of perhaps losing founder talent, just like perhaps we've done because of what we've seen? We take pride in saying, no, these companies are owned by Nigerians and all of that. People even think OPE, you know, MoneyPoint and all of that, perhaps.
OPE is a Chinese company.
Yes, OPE is Chinese, you know, but many Nigerians don't even know that. They just want that their payments go on seamlessly. So are we at the risk of losing founder talent because of these challenges that perhaps we are not even galvanizing enough local capital?
We are not at the risk of losing. We have lost a lot and we are going to lose a lot more.
Okay.
Yes. So that's basically what it is right now. Everybody's tilting towards the West because that is where the money is.
So what do we do to stem that? What do we do apart from local capital? Because if you're even talking of local capital now, I wonder where that local capital will come from, because Nigeria's economy is still trying to get its feet, you know, put its head over water, get out its head over water. How do we get that local capital? That's one. And apart from local capital, what other things need to be in place for us to be able to galvanize the sector?
You know, it's just like me, I mean, as Educare, I'm strongly pro-Nigerian, right? We are one of the businesses that bootstrapped. We didn't raise any external funding, and I was also very intentional about it. I didn't even have, from course, almost every week, there's always a $10, $50 million offer from Silicon Valley. The point is not because I can't access funds and move like others. Personally, I feel that we can build great, I mean, Educare is probably like maybe 8 countries right now. Educare runs the biggest schools in Iraq, powered by Educare in different other regions. So, but the point is that I believe so much that we can build super great companies that can serve, I mean, 100 countries from Nigeria. I know that, yes, we have reputational gaps, but we can actually build these things. So based on that, I mean, we need to start having a new set of people who understands that there is hope, understands that people who can be pro-Nigerian, who understand investment not as traders, because definitely within the coming months, we'll probably start acquiring a little bit some other companies probably in our space that we can start patching up to what we are doing. But the point is that we need to start having local people who understand that building solutions, building startups is for the growth of our economy, not necessarily about cash. It's about the society first, because whenever you do something really great, I'm 100% sure that you definitely make a lot of money from it. But the point is society should actually be the priority so that we can start, once we build up that energy, we'll start seeing investors from everywhere, or from Nigeria.
Let me come back to Moses now in the studio. Do you think that the era of idea stage funding has completely ended, has dried up, apart from perhaps you have idea that your family is funding you and all of that idea stage funding?
Oh, so I think it hasn't yet ended, but like Alex alluded, we need to see local investors who understand, again, the Nigerian market. So it's not, again, patient capital. So the pattern which is being used at Silicon Valley cannot apply in Nigeria. So yes, it's not, and again, it's one thing again. It's why I said again, it's not an end. Again, we as entrepreneurs, as startup founders, again, need to start building real product that solves Nigerians' problem, and not just products for the hype of it. So we are talking of employment, we are talking of connectivity, we are talking of, again, there are a lot of logistic, mobility, there are a lot of issues where people are looking for solutions to it. So for me, it's just to be serious about the kind of product we are building and the funds and investments we come in.
Do you think that we are spending enough time building those products than fundraising itself? Because people spend a lot of time in fundraising than building products that would be solutions. We have a lot of problems and challenges in Nigeria. Sometimes I could be having a challenge, I'm like, who is thinking somewhere to be able to fix this challenge?
I guess this Alex smiling. Yes, because fundraising is another tax on its own.
Yes.
But what I'll say it's again, the issue is because a lot of investors, again, are the people actually doing the work don't get this visibility. But what I would say we don't. The era of spending a lot of time for the PR, looking for funding and the rest, I think it's gradually within the Nigerian ecosystem dying because, again, investors are now very serious about who we invest in. And now they are looking for people who have that product market fit, who are serious about what they are building, so that if they pump money into this ecosystem and within a certain period of years, they will be able to get a return. So I would say, yes, we have now the market is being reset somewhat.
Okay, let's still stick a bit. Alex, I'll come to you in just a few seconds. If we are still struggling with the pre-seed stage, and the pre-seed stage is like one of, if not even the most vulnerable system, the most vulnerable layer of that ecosystem. What do we now do, to be able to nip that in the bud? Yeah,
so I would say in terms of investment in...
Yeah, because Alex earlier on said, I don't know if you heard him, Alex on said we should galvanize local capital. Yeah. So what other things, I would like to hear your opinion on that.
Yeah, I think, yes, so I would tilt a little bit to the government in terms of, the government is doing a lot, but this, in terms of supporting, whether it's for example, Bank of Industry. But I'm just giving an example. But most of these supports are fragmented. And again, there is less awareness to this kind of support. And again, support is not necessarily in terms of cash. It can be, we have a place or a venue where once you come in, you don't have issues with lights, you don't have issues with infrastructures. So that's why I say if the government again this can happen with partnership with the private institutions. It's aside money is infrastructure, because one of the very key aspects, which again is affecting the startup ecosystem, again at the pre-seed stage, is infrastructure. Can we now start seeing some of this infrastructure being given to the government? Yes, again, most of these supports are too fragmented, and again, it's focused more at the federal level. Because again, if you go to the state level,
what's happening there?
Again, you just ask the question.
There.
Not that nothing is happening.
A few governors are doing.
Yes, not that nothing is happening, but because everybody wants. Again, is focused on the federal, and few people are focused on the state, and everyone is focused in Lagos or Abuja
or Port Harcourt.
But when you go to all these states, there are ecosystems. They just need a little support, a little push, and again, these ecosystems will pick up.
Okay, Moses, let me come to you. What happens to innovation if we're seeing pre-seed funding as it continues to dry up? What happens to innovation? And can we begin to see structured angel networks now replace the role of pre-seed investors? What's the experience so far?
So for me, there's something Moses said that is very important if you pay attention to what he said. we need to start having a new crop of innovators who are actually solving real Nigerian
Problems, yeah.
I say that we have a lot of nonsense startups in Nigeria, like complete nonsense. And that is why it's very difficult for the local investors to even understand. I mean, you're in a country whereby people are hungry. You're in a country whereby there is high level of insecurity. You're in a country whereby people can't even move freely, right? There's a lot of local problems. The only thing I feel that government needs to fix, I don't even know how they can fix it. The only thing I feel that is the responsibility of the government here is the legal system, law and order, which no startup can actually fix. Because this is actually the only job of the government.
Government, yeah.
Right? This is law and order, right? If we can actually fix law and order, it will make it a lot easier. I mean, I had some offers to invest in Kenya. Funnily, I started asking questions, what is your legal system like? Because everybody that wants to come into an economy wants to exit. I mean, exit is your first thinking, right? And it couldn't, I mean, when I was getting some responses, I was like, wow, I want to move from Nigeria to another Nigeria. So the point is this, if we have a strong legal system and there is law and order, that automatically opens up our economy. If you watch, I mean, series like Men Who Built America, you start seeing that every single part of the economy are built by people.
People, exactly.
Is it from oil refinery? Is it from
banks,
aircraft?
Whatever.
Is it from electricity? Is it from DC? Is it from AC? Every single thing that you can imagine that everybody in Nigeria is talking about baseline, these are built by individuals from different, meaning that we can actually have a new set of individuals who can do even more. Because there's a weak legal system, because there is lack of order, which is the sole responsibility of the government, it becomes very difficult.
Do you see, okay, Alex,
so we need to start, coming back just briefly, we need to have that new set of innovators who changes their mental model and goes back to the basics so that we can start innovating around fundamental problems. And trust me, when you communicate fundamental problems, you have funding more than ever before.
Do you see a promise of having those new innovators, and what could be depriving us seeing those innovators? Because we're talking about, you know, creating solutions for our problems. And what can actually bridge this gap is even the young people. Because Nigeria is a country of young people. Africa is a continent of young people. With the crop of young people we have now, are you, do you have hope that this new crop of innovators can come out from our system, especially where we have a broken down educational system in the country? For those of you that have really come out of this space, you guys are super talented. You guys are geniuses, bearing in mind the kind of environment we work in. So, Alex, can you hear me?
I think what's basically my focus for, I mean, the rest of every other innovator is we changing the way we think. I think that's the fundamental way. So let me give you a very clear analogy. I don't know if you've ever watched Lion's Den before.
Yes, I have.
Have you ever watched Shark Tank before?
I have, and what's the other one?
Maybe,
Dragon's Den, then Shark Tank,
yes, so
US and UK. Then we have our own Lion's Den.
Yes, get your Lion's Den on one screen and get your Shark Tank on one screen. Just watch it for just 10 minutes.
I've noticed what you are about to say.
You will see the clear difference between the mental model.
Exactly.
So what we see as innovation is rubbish. What these other people see as innovation are things that solve daily and practical problems. Right? Innovation is not software. Technology is not software. Technology is any way that makes things faster, more efficient, and better. Technology is not software. If you end up software becoming the means of solving that problem, beautiful. But you should not lock your mind in software, in apps, and all the, yes, I mean, Educare is fully cloud-based, fully technology-based, but I've got to understand that these apps things are rubbish. There are a lot of problems that it can even be communication that solves, right? And you can discover so many, and there's a lot of businesses. For instance, let me show, you know, this park, this disposable parts that people use for parties and the rest.
Yes.
Do you know how many billion these people generate every single year? These are innovations that many people are busy pressing computer, but they didn't understand that just giving people disposable parts for parties can fetch you several billions every single year.
That's why Lagos State, I think, is moving heavily on them in terms of all this plastic kind. Because
yeah,
of
now
waste, yes.
people are now moving away from plastic which is
yes.
policy-driven, which is beautiful. Can you design things that can actually be maybe a unique type of paper base that you can actually make a lot more billions? I'm just giving you just one very tiny instance in just one industry. Do you know how much Top Bond makes? What are they making? A different kind of chemical that helps to be able to hold something firmer, right? And we have millions of chemistry graduates over the past 30 years, right? And then India discovered that Nigeria needs just chemical combination to hold something firm, and they packaged it well. Do you know how many billion that Top Bond makes in Nigeria every single year? If we start looking at, just open your eyes to the environment and you see billions flowing.
Exactly.
If you lock your eyes on a laptop, you will forever be there waiting for funds, because the people you are trying to fund, they are trying to transition from the traditional means to them. So their understanding about solutions is all about people, right? So the point is that we are bringing innovations that are not appealing to our local investors or our local people. So if we start designing, because once we start designing things that solve our problem, we'll start unlocking capital. Because I ask myself, Nigerians are not creating new money. New money is created through different kind of innovations. It's not about capturing cashew nut to send it to UK. There are 1 million things you can do with it. There is AI, there is the internet to research. Cement, everybody is relying on Dangote and Ibeto and the rest. If you understand the chemistry of cement, you can start making localized small portion cement. Build one small tiny factory. Even if it takes you a week to make 300 bags. If you can sell that, and do you know how much you will make? And if you're looking at an investor making tiny cement with this setup that I did with 3 million, and I'm making 300 bags in 1 week, and now I have market, I want to see if I can be able to make 2,000 bags in the same 1 week, and I need an X capital to be able to achieve that. There is no sane investor that will not pay attention to you. Do you know how much 1 bag of cement is?
I think it's about 12,000, if I'm not mistaken.
Good. And you were able to figure out how to
yes.
achieve even the same quality with something like a 7,000, right? So there are so many things that we can do at scale and move up. And when you meet an investor for things like this, it makes a lot of sense to them because they can relate.
So let me bring in Moses here, because a lot of the innovation we've seen is around fintech, you know, financial technology, which is still dominating that space. And Alex is saying there are a lot of things that we have as problems in Nigeria. What do you have to say? Perhaps you also have some response to what or are you on the same wavelength with him?
Yes, so, yeah, depending on who you ask, some will say we still need more fintech products. Some will say, again, we are oversaturated. But, like, for me, we need to start looking at, again, the way he said, at products that addresses our challenges. Like I mentioned, when you're talking about the digital economy, what's the foundation of what pumps the digital economy? You need broadband connectivity. Yes, the ministry is doing a lot in terms of that, but again, we need those solid foundation, light avenues where people can come in and do whatever they want to do. But again, we need to also look outside the box. And that's why I kept on mentioning that the investors' space is now being reset, that people now are asking the hard questions. So if you come as a startup and say you are building a product that addresses financial inclusion, I will ask a question and say, why are you building an app and you're saying financial inclusion? The person in the rural area, do they even have the money to buy a smartphone to download your app? So we need to start looking at those products that addresses our need. For example, mobility, logistics. Because if only we can solve logistics in Nigeria, it's going to open Nigeria to a lot of other business opportunities. It's going to... So again, we just need to start looking at those issues within Nigeria that affects Nigeria and how to bring solutions to it.
Let's talk about the government side, because you're also quite heavy earlier on in terms of what the government is doing. I would like you to itemize a few things, because you said the government is doing quite a lot. What exactly are they doing? Yeah, so I know that I've had the DG of NITDA here. The DG of NITDA, yes, here on the show, speak with me, as well as even the Minister of Digital Economy. I've spoken to him at least a few fora outside. What exactly is government doing? We know there's a push for 5G. We know there are a lot of states now that are giving the right of way for internet connection and penetration in their state. Can you just give me like 3 things that our viewers can take away from this interview, if you can?
Okay, let me start. I'm not buying the brief of the government.
Yes.
But I would say yes. Again, there's high expectation on the government, but a lot of this is fragmented. Yes, on the issue of the connectivity, the ministry is doing a lot. We are yet to see it working. It's doing a lot. But for NITDA, I would say in terms of digital literacy, they've done a lot. In terms of digital literacy, sensitizing, even the ministry too is doing work within the digital literacy, which again, once in a while we see again those success stories of what is happening. And again, in terms of even providing avenue for startups in Nigeria to be able to compete abroad. Yes, NITDA and the ministry, even in collaboration with other ministries, are doing this. But like I said, these are done fragmented. We need something that comes and says, okay, that it's more solid in a way that the effects now, it's very large, that affects a wider ecosystem, the startup ecosystem in Nigeria.
Okay, let me come back to you, Alex. Even as we move into we're already in 2026. When I'm already seeing myself in 2027, I can't wait for this for these politicians to get their stuff out of the way and we get down to business, because it seems all they are thinking about is now is how to win 2027 elections. Meanwhile, my brain is already in 2027 that we need to get business cracking. Okay, let me come back to my question, which is, how do we get Nigerian billionaires to begin to look at this space as something investable? We've talked about the exit, or at least the gradual drying up of foreign capital, and you advocated earlier on local capital. How do you think we should approach it, that the billionaires, that they have cash? Some are not even listed on the stock exchange, you know that, because some also question, some say that there are a lot of people in Nigeria that are even richer than Dangote. But Dangote's wealth is quantifiable because his companies are listed on the exchange. What do you have to say about people that really have money and coming into the space to, support young people and support solution-driven innovations and not the nonsense or the rubbish, like you mentioned earlier on? And we see the billionaires perhaps buying houses abroad and a whole lot of stuff. What do you think?
Yeah, for the night, there's a new set of billionaires that are coming up, but for most of the billionaires that we already have, these are people that I call it commodity-driven billionaires. So their understanding about business,
importer and exporter.
Yes. Yeah, their investment understanding is all about commodities, things you can actually feel, touch, and experience, right? Very few of them even understand what is talk. So the understanding about technology is to buy an iPhone or to put a smart something in their homes. So what do they venture in? Majority of them, you see them in either owning oil warehouse or doing oil businesses. These things doesn't require any form of innovation.
So they have things they can touch, as it were.
Yes, then talk about traders. These are people importing stuffs. Their own is understanding that there is a demand for this. They have markets, they bring it in. Right? Which other ones, again, you barely see billionaires on some critical... The manufacturing, you see very few people because it's extremely hard, like people like Dangote, Bua, and the rest. And then you see a lot of criminals too, because we have I think we have a lot more criminal billionaires than even the actual ones who are making impact. So you have the politicians, you have the fraudsters, you have a lot. So these people, what they probably relate to easily are physical things, right? Now, there's a new set of billionaires who probably, like people like the InterSwitch guy, and a few other ones that have invested in technology that are widely exposed, that take more from the global points, see that the world is moving into AI, heavy tech investments, and the rest. So when you get to approach these people with new modern ideas, it's a lot easier for them to understand, because you cannot invest in what you don't understand. So
you just reminded me of Warren Buffett's quote. He says it, I don't invest in what I don't understand.
Exactly. That's why even in those texts, you would never see Warren invest in those businesses.
No.
Not because they don't make sense, but because he doesn't
understand it, yes.
So it's exactly the same thing. So we have more people who don't even understand where the future is moving to, right? Who uses the traditional way. That's why in Nigeria today, everybody's talking about any society that politics becomes a big conversation is a very poor society. A lot of people are definitely hungry. So the point is, that's why even in Lagos here, you barely see people talk about Lagos local politics. A lot of people.
Everybody looking for what to eat.
It's only places like Enugu, Ogun, all those pop-up places.
I think like Abuja too. Whether we are guilty of it here.
Abuja is an idle place now. There's really nothing happening.
No, Alex, just hold it there. Hold you and your Lagos.
I know.
But I understand what you are saying. I understand what you are saying. No, I get you. I get you when it comes to that. Yeah.
We need to. That's why we think about tech and software, we need to start also looking at, because those guys who understand traditional things, trust me, whenever you bring innovations that they can experience and feel, they are more than willing to put some money. Yes.
Are we going to see the likes? Are we going to see more of the likes of Michelle Ilegbe with InterSwitch that you mentioned?
There's a lot more than Michelle right now. That Michelle opened up a possibility.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of people now, in hundreds, who are even doing significantly well. So that is the advantage of people like Michelle. So people like every other person, even people like us, who are now opening up possibilities across different verticals, it's also making it a lot easier, right? My friend recently raised $11.4 million in his defense tech, right? And nobody have ever heard anybody raise a defense tech funding, and he raised it from Palantir, which is one of the biggest defense company in the U.S. Right? So that is the thing. So we can't. That's for me. I just feel that everybody, let's just press a reset. Let's just have a new set of people who are now looking deeply into things, and much more funding will definitely come.
Okay, so as we close, let me come back to you, Moses. What should founders stop doing immediately, and what should they double down this year?
I think founders should start building real products that address...
Apart from the real products, I know you've told me that before.
No, but it's... Is that
still the thing?
I think it's the only way. You need to really double down, and it's not all about vibes and inshallah and the whole PR and everything. You need to double down, be serious about what you are building. Because we've seen, again, within this ecosystem, people come together, they build, they collect money, and they close. And they close.
Yes.
So, because again, investors now, their eyes have opened. So they are now asking those real questions. Are you going to take my money and run away? And like, again, Alex have said, only when you are building real product that addresses Nigeria real issues, this money will come.
Okay. Alex, final question to you. This year that you're looking at now, we're like a few weeks into the new year. Do you see this year, because both of you have talked about a reset, is this year really a reset year? Is it a recovery year or a consolidation year for our startup ecosystem? And like you said, it's not all about vibes, even though we're in Valentine week. Valentine is coming.
No, it's actually not about vibes. Everybody's eyes are opening up. And I think a lot of people will start thinking differently. So it's actually a year that we are going to consolidate a lot of things, and we are going to open up a lot more opportunities. And, you know, every change in the world starts with a conversation, and we are strengthening up the conversation to see how we can change the way we think. And with that, because for me, I want our founders to stop thinking from the point of hunger.
From the point of what? Hunger. Thank you very much for saying that. Yes, because we're always thinking, you know, I say it on the show all the time, at least most times, that Nigerians, you know, we have that hustling mentality. We're always thinking from the point of survival. How do I get past, you know, the next day? So that's actually what we're doing. But can we even get past it when majority of us are poor?
No, that is the point. So if we start thinking from the point of the society, poverty can always be solved. Once we start thinking from the point of the society, it makes it a lot easier for us to build things that can be of quality and they can last. It even forms the foundation of our thinking, right? So let's just, everything is not about survival, right? We will survive as quickly as we can, but the society is the most important thing. So for me, I'm pro-society. I want Nigeria to be the greatest economy ever at the quickest possible time. So once our thinking starts changing and we start seeing results, I mean, everything opens up really fast.
You're already doing that, you're already doing that because you're in one space that enhances human development, which is education, you know, education, health. I salute you guys. It's been a nice interview this morning. It's feeling a bit different than what I'm used to, you know, but it's not on vibes. You know, we're talking, we're talking startup, we're talking, you know, things that really need to move the society forward. So thank you very much, Alex, for coming on the show. I hope you had a good time conversing with me. Like you said, we've started conversations and let's keep on talking. So don't be far. Let's talk again soon. And I wish you well. I heard you earlier say that you're looking at Kenya, you know, going to invest in Kenya.
Yes, but now, like I said, when I started looking at the laws, I didn't, if you know, sometimes you will complain why investors are not coming to Nigeria. So by the time you have opportunities to invest in other markets, those first questions you ask is the first question that you will ask.
Exactly.
So, and it was so big. What are the laws? I have to start studying the laws of Kenya and the rest. And I was like, oh, really? So this is why people are not even investing here. A country that that are very weak in laws. So these are the things we need to tighten up.
We're almost like the same in Africa. You know, we almost share the same challenges as well. All right, thank you very much.
Investing in South Africa is a lot better.
And also a bit of Egypt. Thank you very much, Alex. Thank you very much, Moses.
Thank you
I hope you've had a good conversation with me too.
Sure.
So I'll have you guys again soon. All right, that's the much we can take on today's edition of the program. It's been Moneyline with Nancy. I am Nancy Naji. Please join me again tomorrow. I'm always here Monday to Friday, 11 a.m. to 12 at noon on this channel. Be the best you can be and be the change that you want to see. Have a fantastic weekend. And it's not vibes on vibes or cruise. Now, Valentine we did this week, but let's take it easy. I'll see you all tomorrow. Bye for now. Thank you, Moses.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you.